Just be a human being, right? It should be simple enough for people to understand that we are all humans. But one of the things in light of Charlie Kirk's death is that we don't have lots of human beings because people on the left, they love to celebrate the misfortunes of people on the right. But when it happens to them, the misfortune we're talking about, they love to cry me a massive river. They love to uh, pass the blame. They love to claim to be the victim, especially when they get caught out. They love to go, oh, what about freedom of speech? What about our right to freedom of speech and all that sort of other nonsense? And yet they will definitely celebrate the misfortunes of people on the right that will get kicked off of X or Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, for example. And then they'll go, well, all I'm doing is I'm just talking too. So therefore, this is really outrageous and irresponsible that I'm being demonetized and I'm having like this is really nuts. So that all being said, my friends, Anna Kasparian, who I don't really like, and I've made several videos about her utter horrible comments when it comes to Israelis, and she works for the Young Turks. Cenk Uygur, sweaty Cenk Uygur that looks like he's about to have a heart attack every single time the guy talks. It doesn't take much to get Cenk in a rage. That's like, yeah. Anyway, she works for a Muslim man. She absolutely hates Israel. That is clear as day with the videos that I've made and her comments, which are pretty disgusting. And in light of the whole Charlie Kirk assassination, I think loads of people that are podcasters have had to have a real hard look at what have you guys actually been saying? What are the things that you've been floating out there onto the internet? The calling of names for people like a fascist or a Nazi, or really interesting comments that maybe you shouldn't really be sharing on the internet, especially saying that Israelis are demons and they're not anointed. They're not this, they're not that. They're despicable people. That's what Anna Kasparian has said. Same with Cenk Uygur. They're both very much aligned on that. Now, when it comes to the whole Charlie Kirk incident, there are worse people out there, believe it or not, that have made some very horrific and disgusting comments. And part of having freedom of speech means that you can say it. Doesn't mean that you're going to be free from any kind of consequence that comes from you saying it. Now, there's this big thing on the internet at the moment over Jimmy Kimmel being fired from a private company, Disney, or a public company. I think it is a public company. But anyway, it's from a private sector. So I think ABC or whichever affiliated group, it's like level after level, right? So Jimmy Kimmel was fired by his boss for a number of reasons. And the horrible Charlie Kirk comment was like the nail in the coffin for him. And the left is melting down and saying, well, what about freedom of speech? And what I find very interesting is how much the left seem to care more about Jimmy Kimmel's firing than Charlie Kirk getting assassinated. I don't really trust anyone. I'm having a very hard time trusting anyone or caring about anyone that celebrated Charlie Kirk's murder, and yet they're having a massive meltdown over Jimmy Kimmel. That just should show you everything you need to know about the radical left. Now, Destiny, who is truly his ideas, I disagree with them vehemently. I do not like what that guy has to say, but I want these people to say it. You know why? Because it really shows us where we stand as a society. And again, freedom of speech, we must defend it. And I'm also going to defend freedom of consequences, because guess what? Consequences come. Now, some people have argued, well, what should be some of the consequences for someone like Destiny that won't condemn the murder of Charlie Kirk, and he will say some pretty other disgusting things. Have a watch of him on Piers Morgan recently and Anna Kasparian exploding at Destiny, saying just be a human being. You can't even do that. It's really quite telling. Anyway, have a watch.
Been quite active on social media since Charlie Kirk's death. When Erica Kirk posted Charlie's coffin, you responded, she tagged him, brackets, crying face emojis. In response to Alina Haber's tweet ordering people to fly their flags at half-mast in memory of Charlie, you posted on X, buying flags and poles just to fly them fully erect. And you then posted yesterday, ending every Conservative debate call out I'd do in 2026 with "Don't dodge, bro." That's not what Charlie would have wanted. I mean, do you think that your response to the cold-blooded murder of Charlie Kirk has been appropriate?
Yes. I think that the only way this country moves forward into a better world is when conservatives can finally realize that they need to turn the temperature down on their side. We are 10 years into whatever this Trump madness is, and there is not a single mainstream conservative that will call for a lowering of the temperature on their side. I think that liberals need to wake up and finally realize that if they're not willing to do it, it will never come down. If you wanted Charlie Kirk to be alive, Donald Trump shouldn't have been president for the second term. Every time he's in office, this happens. People joked about when Biden came in, it was so boring, nothing was going on. 7 out of 10 of the largest protests in American history have happened under Donald Trump. All of the recent political violence that's happened in this country over the past 20 years, the majority of it, the overwhelming majority of it, everybody gets mad because they keep asking Grok about it, has been conservative.
Who shot Charlie Kirk?
A guy from Utah who was raised in a Christian family, who was a 22-year-old
white
dude.
described.
He wasn't
Destiny.
trans. He didn't have a trans girlfriend. He didn't have any trans influences. He didn't have any trans bullets. Yeah, I'm sorry. You guys were wrong on all of that.
To be clear, the governor of Utah, Spencer Cox, has made it clear that their investigation has now established that he had been radicalized by a leftist ideology, which drove him to do this. That's just
I'm sorry. Excuse me. When?
Yesterday, he said that.
No. When was he radicalized? In the 6 months that he did remote college?
I don't know when he was radicalized, but I do know.
What you just said
I do know the very reasonable sounding
true.
governor of Utah has made it clear that the
he hasn't made it
you may
clear.
not want to
said
hear
this is
this.
an ongoing investigation.
You may not want to hear it,
it,
Destiny. But the reality is, the investigators, according to the governor of Utah, have established that he was radicalized to a leftist ideology that drove him to murder Charlie Kirk. Now, let me just ask you.
That's just not true.
Let me just
There's
ask
no
you.
way to deal with it.
Okay,
You're living in a
accusing the
delusional
governor
fantasy.
of lying.
Yeah.
That's your prerogative. But
sure.
If it turns out to have been somebody with a leftist ideology who wanted to shut up Charlie Kirk, would you condemn that?
I won't condemn anything until the president of the United States can go on air and say, all of us need to calm down.
So you won't condemn the murder of Charlie Kirk until Donald Trump says something.
I'm a YouTuber. Leftists and Democrats have been condemning and turning down the temperature, condemning violence, turning down the temperature for a decade. Donald Trump can't go on TV and say, all of us need to calm down.
Right.
Can you tell me why he cannot?
Why would you expect anybody, Destiny?
You can't answer that. Can you answer that question? Why can't Trump go on TV and say, all of us should be less violent?
Why do you
can't
think
Trump say that?
Why do you
Why
think
is your behavior contingent on Donald Trump?
Insane right now.
Why do you think?
Your
No, let me
behavior
ask a question.
on Donald Trump?
Let me ask a question.
Because he's the president of the United States of America and the leader of the opposing political party.
Destiny. Let me
you have a huge audience of young men who listen to everything you have to say. So when it doesn't matter. You have a huge audience, and because of the fact that you have a huge audience, you have a responsibility to not turn. No, it hasn't. It hasn't been broken. I actually care about the country and want to bring people together. You do the opposite. You represent the worst of us, Destiny.
Yes, we're going to talk about lowering the temperature, guys. We're going to lower the temperature, and in order to lower the temperature, it's the best thing to lower the temperature, because we're lowering the temperature. That's what he's acting like. So you want to double down on your comments and say the right conservatives need to lower the temperature or call for calm. President Trump apparently needs to call for calm. But how do you call for calm, or how do you negotiate with people that are actually celebrating, or someone like you, Destiny, that won't even condemn the murder of Charlie Kirk? So you want conservatives to tone it down before we have you go, oh, then I'll condemn it. Then it's fine. What? Hang on a minute. A major member of conservatism was brutally killed by someone on the radical left. And yet we're the ones that are supposed to calm down? Yet we're the ones that are supposed to bring the temperature down? hang on a minute. Do you see anyone in the streets burning down cities or shops? Do you see anyone rioting like your side do all the time? And you call that Trump lunacy. Do you see people fearing for their life in the streets? No, all I see are delusional dingbats like yourself, Destiny, that are so utterly despicable and disgusting that you won't even condemn the death of a conservative because you disagree with him. And then you want to blame conservatives for upping the temperature. Hang on. It's not your side that is getting brutally murdered all the time. And yet you want to say, we've got to lower the temperature. What? You've got to be kidding me, really? And unless you like holding us hostage, I'm sorry. I don't care what the hell you have to say. You're not important. Although you seem to think that you are. And why Piers Morgan consistently platforms you, I'll never fully understand. I know it brings ratings for him, but goodness me, these people are asking for it. I know you love the clickbait, Piers, and all that sort of stuff, but don't give this guy an even bigger voice. He's a lunatic, a dingbat. And I mean, you saw Anna Kasparian going after him. Like, be a human being, for goodness sake. Is it that hard to ask people to just understand the humanity? And what, to me, is really interesting is, or actually disgusting as well, is seeing people on the left melting down over something so simple and out of their control. Has nothing to do with freedom of speech at all. And yet, they won't even... So for me, human life is nothing nowadays to these people on the left. They think that he deserved it. You know, the problem is people like Destiny that lie cause problems for people on the right. They'll say this person's a fascist, this person's this person's that. They're not any of those things. Same with Anna Kasparian, I'll have you know, on the Young Turks. Now, the good thing about Anna in this equation, and credit to her, is she went after someone like Destiny for being really despicable. We can't have this kind of stuff in society. Platformed on a major, major scale. If he wants to say it in the confines of his own home and reap the consequences, fine. Maybe this is actually a good thing that Piers platformed him, because the repercussions have been quite immense. Apparently, his memberships have been paused on YouTube. And the thing is, YouTube demonetized me for an entire year. I lost so many amazing interviews. I lost a lot during that entire year. I was working enormously hard. And there were interviews that I did. I lost them. I don't have them anymore. It sucked. And, you know, why was I demonetized? Hate speech. Because I was speaking openly and truthfully about the transgender narrative and how hateful and how disgusting it actually is. But YouTube deemed it being unacceptable to talk about that. That's hate speech. Got demonetized. Kept it up. And now Destiny. The thing is, I never celebrated murder, never celebrated violence, never incited any violence. But Hassan Piker and Destiny, they can do that and they get allowed still on the platform. It's nuts to me. How does that work? Anna Kasparian also said, you represent the worst of us, Destiny. Destiny represents Destiny. Apparently he's going on college campuses debating people. The guy, first and foremost, needs a great deal of help. But the irony and the hypocrisy in all of this is the left wants to blame the right, and the right oftentimes blames the left because the left is really aggressive and really violent. They're the actual racist, and yet the left will always claim to be the victim. They've got no logic, no reason, no rationale, so they resort to violence to shut up the people on the right that actually have common sense and reason and rationale and logic. And that's what we saw with Charlie Kirk. A radical leftist, indoctrinated, and Destiny won't even condemn because he knows he believes in all that sort of stuff. There's a video that is circulating of Destiny actually saying that he's got the address of someone, like he wants to kill someone. That was going viral recently too. So you got to be very careful with what you say on the internet because guess what, people? It's forever. Anyway, you guys take care, be blessed, and I'll see you all in the next video.